Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
Um, yes, we are in Zoom. Sorry, there's Rob's email.
And we're being recorded.
Yes, and we're recording. So, welcome to the funding committee of the Amherst Housing Trust. Um, so
So you want
hello.
to you want a quick update? I have heard nothing from Sam McLeod. First update.
Okay.
first update. You have others?
Well, the second update is looking at the packet that Greg sent from that included information from Representative Dom. It doesn't look like the transfer fee is on there at all. I know Aloha met this week and Gaston said he was going to go, so we'll probably hear tomorrow about how that went. But I didn't even see it on CHAPA's. They did a review of the budget. Not that they might flag it, but it wasn't there either.
Yeah, I would the transfer fee be in the budget
No,
process though, or would it be different?
probably not. Probably not. That probably would be
Yeah.
like a legislative priority, something separate. But still, you'd think, legislation's moving along. We're in June.
Yeah, I mean, I think just to be fair to Grace, I think I think we had asked her to follow up about budget items.
Okay.
So that may be outside of the um gosh, where did I see transfer fee stuff? Something's happening. I mean, like
I saw something from Brookline. They
that's what
voted
I saw.
in Brookline to support it, and they're pushing their representative to move it forward.
Got it. Got it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think I think we just gotta be patient and follow the statewide movement on it and try and respond to the advocates and worry less about what the local legislators do until the advocates have some marching orders for us, I think, is my sense of it. Yeah, I mean, I think the legislative landscape is going to be rocky the next 18
Very.
months, probably, like,
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Um, oh, I lost my, oh, sorry, the wrong notes here.
Yeah, the only other thing that I was going to share is I've heard that 5 new members have been recruited for the Amherst Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, and that's going to go to Town Council possibly Monday, which will be interesting because
Mm,
that's going to be
a
a
budget,
budget
yeah.
session. It's going to be that's going to be a rough day. Um, so I might be letting go of this committee. I mean, you've got 5 new people.
Got it.
Um, and I have heard rumors that one has housing experience, but I don't know anything else. I don't know their names. I don't know who they are. Just
I
rumors.
think are they is that I think is it public or is it
Should
uh
be.
yeah, no, yeah, I mean I guess if it's in the are we within no I'm just trying to see if um
Yeah.
um
Once the agenda gets posted, it'll be public.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it might be public now with town manager points 5. Do the names here? Yes. Okay. So yes, the names were publicized. So the answer is yes, there's 5 folks. Y- um and I think they'll be on the consent agenda, so likely it'll be a yes, but I think there's probably still I know there's one wrinkle that might lessen that number. I'm not, which is has to do with who ends up in what group or whatever. And I think some of the other appointments are a little more. There's more conversation around them. But the gentleman who is um, who was appointed, who does have housing. It's actually it's kind of a um just kismet, I guess. So he's a housing consultant. His name's Jara Smith is his last name. Um, and Jara is, I might be wrong on his last name. Forgive me if I am. But he works for a small shop inside of Enterprise Community Partners, which is like a big, huge nonprofit developer, like national essentially. But he's working in a much smaller, like in like sort of like a consulting group within Enterprise. One of the things he consults on around the country is housing trusts, actually. Largely for larger municipalities, where the dynamics are a little bit different. But he's, but he has relocated here, and and is, I think, here for the for the long run. So and bought a house and stuff. Um, but yeah, so he'll be great. And yeah, and some other folks who are interested maybe have a little less direct topical knowledge in housing, but
Any deep
interests.
pockets?
I don't know if I didn't ask about I got to sit in on the interviews, but I let Gaston and Paul kind of take the lead, and I I smiled and took a couple notes, but yeah, I don't uh so I don't know is the answer. Um but yeah, I mean, and I don't know, one of the things Gaston and I guess it's fine to talk about this stuff, separate from funding questions, but one thing is Gaston and I need to strategize around once those are formal and they have to sign, they have to, you know, put their hand on the, whatever they take a pledge or
As a clerk,
whatever.
right?
And I think do conflict training, I think they require before they let people join, but
No, no, they
no,
don't.
or okay, maybe just do maybe some other piece of,
You have to sign a statement,
s- you
but
know,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
but thinking about onboarding, and and I wonder if there are, um, you know, Gaston did invite folks to join us Thursday for the event. But I'm sure, whichever number of new folks end up formally enrolling in the trust, like, if you all wanted to, you know, be available as, informal guides as they launch, maybe do some one-on-ones or something. I think that's totally legit. So um so yeah. And I think, like, it may be that my sense is that especially on the legislative stuff, like it might be sleepy for a while, and then we might have a juncture, in 6 or 12 months or something where there's an opportunity, and we might put out the call at that point and have you come back for a meeting or two if there's coordination or, um, or whatnot, to do on some of these things that you got some more institutional history with.
We're we're thinking like August or September for meeting with the CPA, right?
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
yeah. It'd be nice if Sam responded,
Right.
because that was why I was getting in touch with him.
And did I share a town email address or a personal email address,
It
or
was a personal one, the AOL.com.
let's not say it on the
Oh,
recording here, but
yeah, yeah, it's not the total. Yeah, it's
yeah,
a
yeah, no,
very,
yes, well, maybe if it was a town email address, maybe I know some of the council members and stuff use town email addresses. I thought maybe it was perhaps if he was not checking it off cycle or something,
yeah,
um but yeah, I mean, I think, um yeah, that we talked about getting safely ahead of their formal process.
right.
Um, so yeah, so September, August, September, something like that. Um, and
And we also noted that uh, the term for Sam is 2025, so this may be his last month.
oh,
That was
that's right.
that was another
Oh,
reason why I thought it'd be important to get in touch with him now.
hmm.
Yeah, we had looked up all of their terms. And his is 2025.
What is the name of the committee? Is it the,
CPAC.
no, not the other committee that, is sort of advises the town manager on, um, the resident advisory committee, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just wondering,
Let's see. Let me look up our. Yeah.
just wondering if we have a, okay, we've got,
Resident advisory. Yeah. Resident advisory committee. Yes, we do have resident advisory committee. And let's see, 1-year term. Whoa. Meg Gage, 2026, Anastasia
yeah,
Ordonez,
well,
2027. Yeah, and chairs
yeah,
2020.
I'm thinking less about, because these folks won't, I'm just wondering, I was going to glance and see if, I'm not actually sure. I guess all these committees are rolling over right now, right?
Mhm.
And so does it not, yeah, I guess in the case of the trust, nothing really got publicized until Paul sent a memo, I guess. I'm not quite sure what the juncture of, um, town services and outreach committee. All right. Um, lots of committees. Just curious if, and then the CPA would appoint their own chair, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
most committees will. Yeah.
Position. Um,
Can I quickly just ask you,
yeah.
we're
Mhm.
going into fiscal year 2027?
6. It's-
6? Okay. So the CPA committee on March 5th, 2025 sent a memo to the town manager, town council, and town finance committee for fiscal year 2026 and what they should fund. So are they always a year like
I think,
beforehand?
yeah, there's a weird thing about it. I figured this out already, but it was reporting on what they'd done already.
No, we hope you will find these particular projects worthy of your endorsement and approval.
So yeah, so these are for, so
Recommendations for fiscal year 2026.
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
budget.
that's the one coming up. So we're in FY25 until
Right.
the end of this month. So FY26 will start in July, and so they're making recommendations, which will be, they have made recommendations to the town council, which will be executed
Okay.
in FY26. So they do their deliberations a year ahead, or a good chunk of a year ahead, and then um, so their memo is referring to funds to be expended in 26. That makes sense.
Yeah, look, sort of. It looks to
Uh,
me like they're asking for the funds to then appropriate. They'll probably need to appropriate them later. It's because the way they have it, there recommends an appropriation of 2,292,070, and then they break up community housing, historical preservations, 0 for open space, recreation, 0 for administration, and 0 for budget reserve. So they have 100%. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's the year. Yes. It must be the year before.
yeah, so it's this thing from March 5th, 25th, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like, so basically all their work happens the previous fiscal year
Okay.
from when the
Got it.
actual
Got it. Got it.
outlays are
Okay.
made. Yeah.
Yep, got it. Thank you.
Um,
Yeah, so that's the report from the last, yes.
yeah. Yeah. So, and then well, yeah, so I guess maybe we can report then, to back to the full trust, that an objective of this group is to try and pull that meeting off, um, with some representative, of the CPA. And I
Yeah.
guess we'll see, um, who ends up in that seat, or if there can be outreach that happens, um, beforehand, before there's a transition. I guess that would be, if his term is up this month, time relatively tight, I guess.
Mhm.
Um, Trying to think. Yeah, unfortunately I don't interface with the staff folks that staff CPA, so it's not like I have a good sense
Right.
of how to get a hold of them otherwise, or how to, if we're starting the planning team, I could kind of pump for for information a little more directly. Um, I mean, what do we think? Is it vital to have a meeting with him, or whoever's in the chair role?
Uh, well, it, if it's an official meeting, it should be the chair role, and it could be chair, vice chair, or assistant chair. But just thinking that he was leaving, it might have been good just to get some sense of what he thought as well. Um,
Um,
Well, I mean, I think we started talking about this before we realized that he might be on the way out. I think we were assuming
right,
that he was
right.
going to be able to help guide us into the next year. So now we're like sort of, who knows?
Is it large? Um, yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, I mean, so I get, yeah, I'm not sure, if I have an angle offhand, to how to follow up outside of what Erica's already done, with Sam. I'm just looking to see. So only one. So it looks like Katie Zobel and Tim Neal are the only. Oh, and Bob Saul is also. So we'll see who the chair is. But I think the sort of reps from my guess is the reps from the different boards won't end up in the chair roles.
Right. More likely to be that large person.
Yeah, yeah. So then I'm just wondering if there's. Yeah, so it looks like we only had the trust appointees were the only ones that the town services committee looked at in their last meeting. So good to know that we're a priority for them, Um, but it's cool. So just kind
There's
of,
on the contact us side there, the email goes to CPAC at Amherst.gov. It's a generic email. Maybe that goes to Holly Drake, but it might
To
have
all
gone
of
to the
them?
whole committee.
uh, you could try it. Can't hurt, right?
Sure, I can send it to all of them.
Is there contact listed there? Looks like just the Okay. Oh yeah, it's Holly's email. I see. I guess is that'll be. Oh no, it's okay. Yeah, I think you know, Eric, I think that sending to whom it may concern or whatever to that email under Holly's name.
Okay.
I think it can't. I don't think it can hurt. Um, and then we can see what comes.
Okay.
And maybe even if it doesn't happen in June, maybe that, fingers crossed, maybe that outreach gets, handed to whoever a new chair is, um, as Sam transitions out. Um, okay. So that's talked about CPA, talked about transfer. Where are we on the what do we call it? The short-term rental fee. We were gonna
We were gonna wait till the budget discussion was finished.
got it, which is hopefully Monday. Um,
Um,
um, so short-term rental, and then I don't have our thing in front of me. And then creative stuff, $1 billion donor. We weren't really working on that as much, right? The um the fourth plank there.
well, I mean, we had talked about some creative things, but I don't think we've ever. I mean, our real action has been, uh, both on the transfer fee, the
Hmm.
CPA, and the short-term rental.
Yeah. Um, okay. Um,
I mean,
yeah, I mean,
you
go
raised a
ahead.
couple of ideas which have been in our notes, but I don't think we've moved on any of them.
Yeah, nothing super actionable. Um, well, I don't know. I mean, while we have a few more minutes here with the two of you in a formal role on this committee, I mean, do either of you have thoughts about like, besides some of the specific stuff you talked about, just general thoughts on, how we should go forward either on D or any of them, like in the broad sense?
Um, I don't know if, I don't know how easy this would be to do, but a nonprofit organization will look to government funders, but also private funders, foundations for
Hmm.
grants. Um, I think it would be difficult to get a grant for general purposes. Um, but I could imagine that if the trust had a project, like um, the next iteration of the East Street School, um, whether it's a South Amherst School or something,
Or something similar.
or
Yeah.
Wildwood or whatever or Hickory Ridge, and we said we have this project, we have um, you know we're making a RFP, whatever. Um, can you seed us with $100,000 or whatever to get the mobile? Imagine that could be fundable by a private foundation. So
Yeah.
but that's not anything that we really work on until something comes up.
Yeah, then there's that's gonna take some time, but I mean, but I think the feedback is good though, like having something, um, having something attractive for them to point at, and for us to point at to, you know, to to pull somebody into it. I mean, I, um, I can say now in public that Amherst College has put a nice, has, well, we put a nice site owned by Amherst College into the housing production plan, which needs to get vetted, in more detail as far as viability, but it's rather large, I mean, like there might be we have to think through like, sort of nuances around who owns what and whose project is it, and like who's the grant actually going to. But I think we agree we can take credit broadly, if we're involved. I mean, it'd be cool if something like we could point at something like that and say, look, Amherst College is in, the housing trust is in, maybe the town CPA is in, or some other entity, you know, and point at a multi-stakeholder opportunity rather than just like asking some foundation looking like we're asking them to be all of the resources,
Uh-huh.
um, that might be a way to get a chunk of money. Um,
And
Well, I
yeah,
think we definitely, oh, sorry, Rob, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we since we have our own money,
yeah,
we can offer it as a match.
sure, yeah. That's
We need to put
yeah.
in, this
Mhm.
whole project is going to require 200,000 from the trust. We can put in 100,000. We put in 1,000 on our behalf, something like that.
Yeah. Um, okay, I like it.
Well, also, I think we should get credit. We had talked about, land or any other projects that come in. I mean, you work both for the town and for us, and we've
Mhm.
we've talked about Amherst College, and I think we sort of stepped back because you said something's coming down the pike. So, definitely we should get credit for whatever that value is. The other thing is we have Strong Street that we've never moved on. Can we not sell that and get the money?
Yeah,
Yeah, the thing is, no one's going to be able to move on
yeah. It's
it,
it's
right?
it's a tough site. Yeah, the more I've looked at it, it's a
How about the people
yeah.
who live there who don't want it developed?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good thought.
Yeah, it's not. I think they already floated some of it to a land trust, maybe. I think I heard they floated it and got a thanks, but no thanks, from a land trust, perhaps. Um, which might be an interesting, that is yeah, I don't know if there's a low-hanging partnership possibility with there, but yeah,
Well,
strongest. Go ahead.
one thing that I wanted to do there on Strong Street, as I recall, there's I've never actually been on the site. I've just seen it on the maps and heard people talk about it. But there's a low part right behind the houses that are on the street, and then it
Hmm.
goes up.
Right.
Um, and there might be room for a single family home or a duplex there. Um, you know, that seems like a Habitat ACLT partnership possibility.
Yeah. And I know Habitat is looking for something in Amherst too. Um, yeah, I would agree.
Well, that seems a little doable. I mean, is it something, that the town could give us a little bit more of encouragement saying that we can move forward, that we can get in touch, with ACLT, we've got Rob, and
Yeah.
Habitat as a partnership?
I mean, yeah, and honestly, I think, if I think the issue, the logistical issues, like my understanding is utilities and access, to to the stuff, because there's a pretty narrow, I think the easement is probably wider by a lot. And I'm speaking off the top of my head here, having kind of glanced at it, maybe a month or so ago. I believe the sort of easement of where there's actually road or where there could be an access is much wider than what currently exists, which is essentially a driveway, for the one or two homes that are there now. And then getting utilities up there, as I understand, would be a lift too, but I mean, I think, yeah, I guess I've been kind of stuck on like where, like, what gets that unstuck, so to speak, into hands. But I wonder, I wonder if it makes sense for, and I can sort of just like bounce the idea off folks and very casually without, asking for any formal permission. But yeah, I mean, it couldn't hurt for, assuming we didn't get a really hard no for Habitat and ACLT to propose something, I mean, I guess I think then the question would be, well, maybe because I don't think we can just give it to Habitat and ACLT. I think there'd have to be a land disposition process, I think, and that's part of the issue too. That's why I'm actually less warm on on like town-owned properties than I am on like private stuff, which people can just propose, we have to get rid of this land first, like, which is a whole mind-bending process. But yeah, let me just, I guess, let me ask and see like how, if there's a way to get it unstuck, and I think, like, if there were explicit interest, maybe there'd be more of a, motivation to do that. I don't know. Rob, I mean, how familiar are you with Habitat's like site preferences? Do you have
No, I don't
were
know.
you involved when they got when you partnered?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder,
Yeah, they might prefer something on a bus line or at least with a
or just
sidewalk
something
or
that's
something.
that's more buildable.
Yeah.
That's a little more. That's not quite on a
Yeah.
hillside, and so I think that's part of the potential issue on that one. But again, that's the case for basically anybody wanting to build something there. Um,
Oh, another thought is that you start the process of of investigating whether this is buildable and whether it can be done, and then the current homeowners there say, oh, we don't want this developed, like Erica was saying, and they buy it. And so then that raises 100,000 or whatever maybe you just sell off
so
just
yeah,
behind it, so you don't sell off the hill. Um, just so they if they don't
that's
want
it.
it developed, if you threaten them to develop it.
That's interesting. And I'm pretty sure if we, and I guess this is RFP is a totally different thing. Yeah, I have to look, I think it's, was it 30B or whatever I don't know. There's state legislation that governs how towns get rid of land. What I don't know, what I'd like to find out is like how, is that a closed bid situation? You know, in which case, like, okay, yeah, that's an interesting thought. I'm gonna, I'm like, might as well keep cards to the vest here, but yeah, okay. Um,
Another thing to think about too is, I know that Governor Healy's been talking about public land, under the HPP. Did you find any public land, that, I mean, I know that UMass owns some, but that makes it I don't know if we have to go through UMass, but I mean, she's been pushing, public land that's not being used to make available for housing.
so yeah, that's a good question. And um, I am cautiously optimistic that UMass will be responsive to um, that guidance. Um, and I guess specifically, I mean, I had reached out to UMass to talk about the HPP and had thrown out a couple sites, and they asked that, or we thought maybe we had one, but then got some negative feedback from the UMass side and didn't roll with it in time. The bigger point there, though, is their responses to their RFP are due, I think, tomorrow, maybe, or I don't know, some soon, if not tomorrow, this sometime like the next week or so. So they're engaging in this big complex process, which at the front end, the website, which or the I think it was in the news release on the UMass website, referred explicitly not just to sort of fixing up housing and on campus, existing dorms, that's a big part of it. But also looking at, housing that, relieves regional housing pressure. And I think specifically said community affordable housing or whatever, so made some fairly bold statements around what might be included in a response to that RFP. Um, so I wonder as a part of that, if there's going to be an opportunity, for something to come from UMass. Um, so that would be that would be a win. And I think, the trick is going to be, when they and I guess, that's a whole world of, you know, public-private partnerships and land disposition and all that, which is probably specific to UMass. But I think watching that process and when and looking for strategic junctures to weigh in as the public. I'm not quite sure, um, how they will select respondents to an RFP as a state entity versus, whether that's happening, that just, like, what their criteria is based on, I would hope it's not just the lowest bidder, but, uh, but, you know, but yeah, my point is I'm not sure if that's a public process that folks can weigh in on or if that's a closed process and there's potential. But I think there will be probably, I, you know, I think I have to assume there's the scope of that, the vision was broad enough that there will be junctures for public participation in decision making throughout. Like I think they're looking for like a 25-year master plan for all of their housing.
Wow.
So it's a fairly substantial initiative. So figuring out like how to plug into it, I think, um, you know, so, but like keep an eye out, in the next month or so, announcements and stuff. And I will too, obviously. So yeah, so um, that's the UMass update, which is opaque, but um, ever hopeful, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
money is a big issue and land is a big issue.
yeah, and just in time, I'm learning. Um, um, but yeah, I mean, the site on this Amherst College site it could be very cool. I mean, it could be. I encourage them to kind of scope it internally and maybe get direct support, and then kind of explore partners. Once they've gotten some initial guidance, kind of just from their perspective. Um, but yeah, I mean, that could be something we pump a lot of energy and resources into. In the medium term,
Mhm.
and hopefully get some units out of it.
So when you say pump lots of energy into it, what does that mean? Like, do you want us to call somebody, talk to
No,
somebody?
no. I mean, I know. I mean, we like just the town and the trust and various stakeholders. There's potential there for probably a bigger project than we've done thus
Mhm.
far, if assuming the land is viable as far as wetlands and stuff. And I think it's
Yep. Yep.
very initial look at it,
Yep.
optimistic, but yeah, but that might be both a thing to put energy into, but also a thing to hang, donations onto, or hang, sort of strategic partnerships onto, and and maybe and in the shorter term, my hope is that we can go to, you know, we can hey, UMass, like Amherst College is playing wrong, the Emmanuel Lutheran Church is getting involved, all these citizens are getting involved, private donors are supporting ACLT with land, like, hey, big dog, let's,
Right.
what are you going to do? And I think, we're setting up sort of that obligation, I think, in a fair way. I don't think
Yep.
it's, I think it's, um, your boss, Governor Healy, says this is a priority, so let's
Right.
do it. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Yeah. And even Hampshire College, I mean, I don't know what's happening with the Hampshire College project, but even they are pushing for
sure. Yeah,
development,
yeah.
so yeah.
So,
Yeah. All
all
right.
right.
Well, I will definitely email Haley and see what I can get back. Hopefully, if no one else gets back to me, that Haley will get back to me.
Holly.
Holly.
Yeah, and I would just, kind of, just note you're not, the attention CPC chair, and and let her choose how to traffic it,
Yep.
and go from there.
Okay.
All right.
All right. And should we, Rob, should we just monitor what's going to happen with the budget, or should we see if we can push Jennifer or George Ryan to get us onto the agenda for the town council? What should we do in terms of action?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Well, I don't know. I feel like what we asked them, or at least
Yeah.
what I asked, was how would you approach this? How should we approach this?
Right.
And the response that I got was I look into it. Jennifer, I will look into it.
Yeah. Same with mine.
Right. And supportive and everything, but then no action steps coming back. So
No.
maybe we just need to do that again. Start to, make another ask.
All right. So yeah.
But
So maybe you follow up with Jennifer and I follow up with George Ryan.
yeah,
Yeah. Because he was also going to look into the resolution that was approved and see how they approved the breakdown. And he wasn't clear how it is actually broken down in terms of the short-term rentals. So, okay, I'll do that. Email follow-up. Okay.
All right. Yeah, and I guess if there's loose ends or whatever, or it might be just good to email me and Gaston, once you've kind of done what, and we can always communicate out, but I'm not sure how formal we need to be about like what happens before the end of June or not. But probably good to just sort of like keep to that. And
Okay.
yeah, and I think probably our, um, you know, well, yeah, I guess we'll see like about committee formation and how we want to do that. I'm honestly not sure what our process will be for that, in July. And I think also too, like I think our experience has been that not everybody we appoint to the trust sticks, so
Great.
so stay tuned there. And I have no reason to think any of the new folks won't, but just looking at past history.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep. Yep. Well, I'm willing to attend the July meeting, just as sort of a follow-up. I know we won't be members anymore, but August, September, October is going to be rough.
Okay. Yeah.
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 So I can commit to July.
Yeah. And Erica too, and both of you too, I think there's also scenarios where like, finding time for a coffee or something with a new member might be as helpful as joining a meeting, and perhaps even more so because you can, say things outside the public view and stuff. If you want to be more direct, but yeah, if either of you be up for that,
Yep.
that might also be
Yeah.
cool. Okay,
Yep,
great.
yep, absolutely. So, if we're not at the official, July meeting, you can offer that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right,
No,
great. And
yeah,
yeah. So, am I going to see both of you tomorrow night though? I think so.
absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Carol and I are going to be at a table, so we're going to get there by 4:30. So if we can have those flyers,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and rustle up whatever we had from
Okay. Yep.
the street party or the street fair we did.
Yes,
So,
exactly. That's what Grover. We actually had coffee and tea with Grover.
oh, good.
Was it yesterday? Yeah. Yep.
Good.
Yep. So Grover definitely sends a hello and a
Well,
goodbye.
I heard Grover might be by tomorrow night too. So,
Oh, yes, Grover
yeah.
did
Okay.
say.
All
Grover
right.
said, yeah, they will
All
be
right.
there. Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All
Rob,
right.
anything else?
Nope.
All
All
right.
right.
All right. I will. I can't remember if I did the notes from last month, but I will do these notes right now.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful for it.
All right. Great.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you both.
Yeah. Bye bye.